Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Deep Dispatch. My name is Austin. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get into it. All right, it is 9:53 p.m. on Tuesday. I am in Paris, France at an Airbnb. My flight landed earlier today, just a little after noon. Long flight, but nothing out of the ordinary. All was good. Guitar was safely stored in the coat closet, which can sometimes be a hurdle, but all good. I made it. My first show is in Germany on Thursday. There's a few different reasons I wanted to start doing this on this tour. One of them is the landscape over here is just very interesting right now. There's a lot going on politically. It's also a really interesting time on the home front. And believe it or not, the people over here are extremely plugged in to what is going on my home front. A lot of times they know more than I do, honestly. This tour is going to be my 10th anniversary of touring Europe. I started touring in 2015, was my first tour here. And if you can use the time machine in your head a little bit to imagine what was going on in 2015, what happened in the year after that, and been touring Europe all through that. And a lot of them want to talk about it, and they want to know what's going on, and they want to get some perspective from me, even though I'm just a singer of songs. But a lot of times I end up playing ambassador, which is fine. So I think I'm going to have some interesting conversations on this tour. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, like I mentioned, this is my 10th anniversary of touring Europe. And it was a dream of mine pretty much since I started writing songs, was to not only tour, but to tour Europe. This whole continent has just enthralled me since I was a little kid. And to get to come here and play music consistently for the last decade, it's been a dream come true. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's been great. And I've loved all of it. And I'm really lucky to have had as many chances as I have to come perform over here and see the continent. And for my 10th anniversary tour here, this is going to be my biggest European tour. I think it will be my biggest tour of all tours that I've ever done. I'm going to be here for 2.5 months, and I'm playing over 50 shows. My show schedule is still evolving, still changing. So yeah, I'm really excited to start playing shows, making the rounds, doing the things, meeting the people. So I'm going to unwind a little bit, and tomorrow I will hopefully be in possession of my new rental car, and we'll go from there. All right. Okay, it is 9:38 p.m. on Wednesday. I am in Charleville, France, which is a kind of smallish town. I've never been here before. I just ended up here because there was an Airbnb on my way to where I'm going tomorrow, which is Wankendonk, Germany. I've also never been there, and that'll be my first show of the tour tomorrow. So I am going to play 3 shows on my own in Germany on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Amanda is going to meet me on Monday. I'm picking her up in Copenhagen, and she'll be with me for most of the rest of the summer. 3rd time touring with Amanda over here. I like it a lot more than touring solo, I got to be honest. I still go out and do a handful of solo shows before and after she's able to join me, but I much prefer doing the shows with her. I really enjoy having her company on the travel aspect of everything, and I think the show is a lot better with her on stage with me as well. So I am really looking forward to picking her up on Monday, and it should be a good summer. And when I go out and do these tours, it always feels like the first 48 hours is kind of where the most things can go wrong. And for this tour, kind of the last major hurdle to jump before getting into the tour was picking up the rental car, which I did successfully. That is something that has not always been an easy feat for me in the past. And I did something a little different for the car rental. I was feeling a little uneasy about it just because it was different than what I'm used to, but it all ended up working out. I got a pretty nice car. I think it had 12 miles on it total when I picked it up, and it has significantly more now. I don't think I've ever driven a car that new. So I just put new strings on the guitar, and I'm still not quite on a normal sleep schedule, so I'm going to try to do that tonight. A very plain breakfast this morning in Charlottesville. I've got yesterday's baguette, unflavored Greek yogurt, and straight espresso. Okay, it is 10:17 p.m. I'm at my Airbnb in Danke. Pretty eventful day. I saw 4 countries: France, Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. That was the last I'll see of France for the rest of this tour. Not the last that I will see of Belgium or Netherlands, and certainly not Germany. I can't remember exactly how many shows we're going to play in Germany, but it's definitely the highest of all the other countries we're playing. 2 things stand out. One that I kind of remember, and another one that I kind of forgot about. First one is just how much I love driving here. Driving in France can be a little dicey, so it was good to get out of there. And hey, quick sidebar here. I'm about to say foreign car. What I really meant to say is car with a foreign license plate. Okay, back into it. The second thing that I kind of forgot is when you have a foreign car and you pull into a very small town in Germany, you get a lot of very funny and confused looks from the locals, especially in a town as small as Wachtendonk. I'm only here one night, leaving tomorrow morning for Goslar, which is another small town that I've never been before. Show tonight was pretty good. The first show of the tour is usually not a banger in my experience, but I can't complain. I still had a nice crowd and the owners were really nice. So show tomorrow and then show Saturday, Sunday, driving all day to be ready for Amanda at Copenhagen Airport. I'm going to wind it down for tonight. All right. Okay, it is 11:39 p.m. in Goslar, Germany. I think the universe heard me yesterday when I was singing the praises of the Autobahn and how great it was. It took me a little while to get here with traffic and weather and a number of accidents, but I made it all good. Had a really, really fun show tonight. Fun crowd, met a lot of really nice people. Everyone was super attentive. I got an encore, which is always fun, and had a really good night. It's getting a little late, so I'm going to probably just keep it short for now. All right, it has been a couple days, and I mean that it's been a couple days since I've gotten on here, and it has been a couple days. Last time I was on here was Friday after my show in Goslar. It is now Sunday at 11:47 p.m. and I am in Copenhagen. I went from Goslar to Wuppertal on Saturday, and then today I went from Wuppertal to Copenhagen. So if you're looking at a map, that involves a little bit of backtracking, which people are always taken aback when they ask where I'm coming from and where I'm going and whatnot. And it's really hard to do this without backtracking at some point. You try your best to make it bearable, but there's going to be a lot of crisscrossing, and there's really not much you can do about it if you want to keep a busy gig schedule, which I do. So, drove to Wuppertal on Saturday. That was a little bit stressful because in Germany, you need these little green stickers on your windshield if you want to drive in the cities for like emissions and stuff like that. And I've never had to buy one in the past because my rental cars have always came with them. But my rental car, like I said, I picked it up in France and it had 12 kilometers on it. So it had never been to Germany before, thus it had never gotten the sticker before. In typical German fashion, they do not make it easy for a foreigner to buy this sticker on a Saturday. So I spent way too much time on Saturday going into various places that might be able to sell it to me. I got very firm 9s from all of them, and it was a little stressful. It took up way too much of my day, and there wasn't really any way to not drive into the zone where you need the sticker because that's where my show was. I spent too much time trying to find one, and then I spent too much time looking up how strict they are on enforcing it, and figured out that really the only thing I could do was roll the dice, try to find a place to park where they weren't going to check for the sticker. And that's it. Really, that was all I could do. The show Saturday was so much fun. Very different than the Friday show, which was also really great. The Friday show was kind of an older crowd, very reserved in like a community center. And Saturday was at a pub. But there's a certain kind of pub in Germany that do these songwriter concerts. And it's a lot different than like playing in like a pub in the US where like you're just background music. Whereas in these German pubs that people go to listen to music, and there were probably 40 people in there on a Saturday night. And at times it was completely quiet. It was really nice. I told a lot of stories in between the songs because I could just tell that that's the kind of thing that they want. And I was right, because a lot of people after the show told me, hey, we really liked your songs, and we also really liked all the stories you told. I've been doing this for long enough where I can kind of, just from hanging out in the bar or wherever I'm playing for a little bit before, and I've gotten pretty good at gauging the audience, and trying to decipher the language barrier is always part of that too, because the levels that English is spoken vary drastically depending on where you are in Germany. I got to stay above the bar in a nice little apartment, had a big breakfast before my really long drive today. And honestly, oh my gosh, I've never seen so much rain in my life than the last few days, especially today. And it was torrential for the majority of the day, I would say. I got to Copenhagen, and as I get older, I really need exercise, especially after a 10-hour drive. So that's what I did. I got to my Airbnb, brought my stuff in, and went for a run. And I will probably sleep a little bit better tonight because of that. My reason for coming to Copenhagen, I don't have a show tonight. Amanda is flying here tomorrow, and I pick her up at Copenhagen Airport tomorrow morning. That's why I made the long trek, and if there is anything worth making the long trek for, that is it for me, frankly. So no show tonight, no show tomorrow night. Tomorrow's Amanda's jet lag day. We're going to take it easy. And our first show together is on Tuesday in Lübeck. I need a shower so desperately. So, shower time. It is Thursday at 11:01 p.m. I am just outside of Hanover, Germany. It has been a few days for some good reasons, some not so good reasons that I will get into. Last time I got on here was in Copenhagen, I believe on Sunday. I was getting ready to pick up Amanda from the airport the next day. So let's go back to then. Woke up on Monday morning to Amanda texting me that she had landed. Said, great. Grabbed the car keys, and I went to go to the bathroom before driving over to the airport. It was just a few minutes from the Airbnb to the airport. So I went to go to the bathroom, and I flushed the toilet, and the toilet did not flush. And I went to wash my hands, and nothing came out of the sink, and nothing came out of the shower or the other sink. In case you haven't figured it out, there was no running water. I woke up to no running water in the Airbnb. Opened up the door, there was street construction going on. So it was pretty obvious as to why that happened. Really unfortunate timing, though, because anyone who's been on a transatlantic flight will know that the very first thing you want to do is take a shower. That is the reason why I had that Airbnb. I've stayed at a lot of Airbnbs, have had some great stays, I've had some not so great stays. I've had a number of different things go wrong, and when something goes wrong in an Airbnb, I've found that the first thing that you need to do is vacate the premises and tell them that you have vacated the premises, that you won't be staying there, that it's unsuitable, or you don't feel safe, or you don't feel comfortable, and take it from there. You got to just leave and figure it out. So Amanda had landed. I am now dealing with the Airbnb host. I'm dealing with Airbnb support. And I'm also trying to figure out where the hell we're going to stay instead. So a lot going on. So picked up Amanda. That's good. That's the most important thing. Amanda arrived safely, and she is here now. I picked her up and had a little trouble finding a hotel that would let us check in at 11 a.m., but figured it out eventually, and we ended up at the Marriott around the corner. Had running water, which was great. She took a nap. I went to the gym. She woke up. We got burgers. In the past, when I've had these types of situations, like I said, sometimes Airbnb is not helpful. So that was kind of the bar. That's what I was expecting. I was expecting to not get very much from Airbnb. But I gotta say, they pulled through. Not perfect, but I'm happy. I'm not gonna complain anymore about it. I'm good. It was really bad timing, but that's okay. We're moving on. Tuesday, we got up, got the car loaded, had our first show that night in Lübeck, Germany. So we drove out of Copenhagen, took the ferry, took the Rodby to Puttgarden ferry from Scanlines. Good ferry, 40-minute crossing, nice and easy, super quick. Had a really fun show in Lübeck that night at Tonfink. Tonfink is kind of a staple of the songwriter circuit in Germany. They've been there for, I want to say, at least a decade, honestly, probably more. And they've just got it down. They've been doing it for so long. They have 3 to 4 shows a week. They know what they're doing. And there's a really stark contrast when someone like that has so much experience hosting concerts as opposed to someone who's fairly new to it. So we had a fun night, got an encore, sold some merch. Wednesday, our first stop was to get the German emissions sticker to say that it passes emissions in order to drive in the cities. And I had been trying to get it for the past week. No one wanted to give it to me. I finally got somewhere that would do it. It took about an hour. It's fine. It's done. Don't have to worry about it again. And then we had to pick up some posters to add to our merch table. So we had to pop into Hamburg real quick, get those. And then we had a show that night in Hildesheim. It looks like Hildesheim, but it's Hildesheim. I had a fun little living room concert to about 30 adults and a handful of children who were actually surprisingly well behaved for a listening living room concert. We've played to unruly children, and the German children were, all things considered, pretty decent. Got a double encore. That was fun. You feel really good about yourself when you get the double encore. Doesn't really matter what else happens. You can go to bed that night just being like, yeah, we got the double encore. We did a good job. So we did that. We played the show. Drove a little bit after the show back into Hanover, which is where we played today. We played Thursday. We played the 2 p.m. Thursday set. And if that doesn't sound right to you, it didn't sound right to me at first either. But in Germany, what they call Father's Day falls on the Christian Ascension Day. You know, it's one of those things. It's like the third Thursday after Pentecost or whatever it is. I don't know. And it's actually a national holiday. So most grocery stores, restaurants, stuff like that are closed. But it's just a random Thursday where everyone goes outside, hopefully if the weather's nice, and drinks starting at early in the morning, because why not, you know? It was pretty laid back, kind of this big open beer garden. There was a guy who stood right up at the front the entire time with his like nice camera and external microphone and filmed both of our sets, the entire sets. I don't know what he'll end up doing with that footage, if it'll end up on YouTube or not. It'll be interesting to see. That'll be a funny memento of a low-key Father's Day. There were some kids at this one too, and one of them sat on my guitar case on the side of the stage area as we were playing, and I wasn't too happy about that. Please don't sit on my things, please. Danke. So that will probably be on the video if it ever ends up surfacing, which will be, yeah. It was kind of nice to not have a long drive and then do an early set. We were definitely feeling it because we've just been on the move. You know, it feels like nonstop, even though it really hasn't been that long. It felt good to not have the long drive and to be done at a reasonable hour. We got to our Airbnb. We've just been doing laundry, cooked up some food, and got to finish the laundry and go to bed. Tomorrow we play Osnabrück. Should be a fun one. All right. There is a lot to love over here and not a whole lot to not love. But at the top of the list for things to not love, gotta say, it's the pillows. Very rare for us to find a good pillow over here. So we decided that it was time that we go out and buy our own pillows and hopefully just find a place for them to live over here when we're gone so that we can have them waiting for us when we come back. And I've been to multiple IKEAs and furniture places already trying to find good pillows, and none of them were doing it for me. But finally found a place that had some good ones today, so we bought 2 of them, and they weren't cheap, but we have them now. And we will probably sleep a little bit better. It was kind of weird, though. We walked into this home goods store, and over by the register, there were some other people checking out. And there was a set of like giant dice on the counter that people were picking up and rolling as they checked out. And I had no idea what was happening. So we go to check out with our pillows, and the woman hands us the dice. Still not entirely sure what was happening, but I guess when someone hands you dice, you roll the dice. So that's what I did. And I rolled a 4, which apparently means that we got 4% off of our pillows. So, yeah. All right, time for bed with our new pillows. All right, Amanda and I just finished our first stretch of shows. Finally have a day off. And the first handful of shows have all been good to great, or somewhere in between. Had some really nice audiences and no real complaints. Nothing that we would really change. Our last show was a little bit different. I've gotten pretty good at figuring out what to expect before a show. Not all the time. Sometimes my expectations are very off. But for this one, I was kind of expecting it. The people that were putting on the concert wanted something very specific and something that wasn't really communicated to us beforehand. And what they wanted went a little beyond just music. They wanted a very specific kind of experience for the whole evening. And it just wasn't ever something that we were going to be able to provide. And to be honest, I don't know really of any other musicians who would be able to give them what they wanted. So it's definitely one that we're looking forward to putting in the rear view and moving on from. Couple things I just wanted to clarify from the last transmission. I mentioned that I was kind of expecting a different kind of show than we were used to, and I think I should clarify that that realization kind of came in waves a little bit. While I was booking it, it definitely felt a little different than most of the other places that we play, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Something I've gotten the habit of doing, and now I kind of know why, is really digging deep into finding out a little bit more about where we're playing beforehand, especially when it's for somewhere that's not a traditional kind of venue, like somewhere that doesn't just have like Google reviews that you can go read. So when it's somewhere a little unconventional, I tend to dig a little bit more. And I mainly did that in the few weeks leading up to the show. In hindsight, it might have been best for us to not play that show. But I don't like canceling shows, especially based on a hunch. I also don't like canceling shows that I booked through a booking platform, if that makes sense. Especially a platform that I want to stay in the good graces of. So I decided that it was best to just kind of go into the night expecting for things to get a little interesting and know where the exits are in kind of a literal and metaphorical sense. So that's what we did. We fulfilled our obligations and decided that it was time to go. But enough of the past. We've got a lot to look forward to, a lot of road left to travel, so we're going to keep looking ahead to that. All right. Thanks for listening.